All right. As you might have heard, Ghislaine Maxwell has gotten a pretty good deal. Pretty good deal. She joins famous prisoners in move to Texas prison camp. It is a total mystery why, after meeting with Trump's personal lawyer, who he made the deputy AG, why she got this deal. No one can figure it out. It's quite a mystery. Ghislaine Maxwell joined Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes. That they're going to start a massage business together.
Talk about a podcast.
Yeah.
In the jailhouse with Ghislaine Maxwell and Elizabeth Holmes.
Elizabeth Holmes.
Yeah.
And celebrity housewife Jen Shah at a federal prison camp in Texas this week. The government hasn't said why they transferred the convicted sex trafficker and confidant to Jeffrey Epstein from a low security prison in Florida to a less restrictive minimum security prison near Texas A&M University. The prison is considered one of the top minimum security prisons to serve time in, according to prison consultancy group for safety, comfort, and amenities. The former British socialite, 63, is one of the most powerful prisoners in American history. The transfer comes as Maxwell's attorneys are pressing the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn her conviction while also seeking a pardon or commutation for her from President Donald Trump in exchange for her cooperation in the Epstein investigation and broader sex trafficking matters. Maxwell spent 2 days last week talking to Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, Trump's former personal defense lawyer, at a courthouse near the Tallahassee prison where she was serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking linked to Epstein. And this is Anyone Want Chips tweeted this out. When the attorney representing roughly 20 Epstein victims asked to be included in the highly inappropriate meetings between Todd Blanche and Ghislaine Maxwell, it's actually Ghislaine. I have just found out. Ghislaine
Yeah,
Maxwell.
I love the name Ghislaine, though. It's in
People say
Ghislaine.
it. People do say it both ways, but I think it actually is Ghislaine.
Ghislaine is such an elegant sounding name.
Ghislaine is better, but
great
it is
name.
Ghislaine.
Yeah.
But was barred from attending. Blanche is acting as Trump's lawyer, not the U.S. Deputy AG. Do you think? Do you think this is all true? Because we reported on the story at the time. There were a lot of veterans of the Department of Justice who said this is unprecedented. It's unheard of that you would have the defendant meet only with the deputy AG with no one else allowed in the room. Nobody. Not her attorney. Nobody. Why would you do that unless you wanted to keep the thing said in that room a secret? And Todd Blanche was Trump's personal attorney. So this is a little bit of reporting on this.
A central figure in President Donald Trump's Epstein controversy is now staying in Central Texas. Since 2022, Maxwell has been serving a 20-year prison sentence for child sex trafficking in Florida. This week, officials confirmed that Maxwell is now staying at the federal prison camp in Bryant. The facility is a minimum security women's prison that houses a number of other high-profile inmates. The move comes as the Trump administration continues to come under fire for not releasing the entirety of the Epstein files. Among those pressuring for transparency are the family of victim Virginia Giuffre.
She wanted the world to know what they've done to her and so many other survivors, and she had been fighting that to her very last day, and I think we have taken that mantle on, and we will continue to fight with her and for all the other survivors so that their truth is known to the world and that they're vindicated.
Maxwell's legal team is asking that the Justice Department give her immunity in exchange for a complete testimony about Epstein's dealings. Those terms are being denied, though President Trump has mulled the idea of pardoning her sometime later.
So Virginia Giuffre's family are not the only victims or victim adjacent people speaking out. A lot of the victims themselves are speaking out about this. Epstein victim Annie Farmer on Ghislaine Maxwell.
Sure, girls and women for Epstein, but she herself participated in their abuse. I think that's an important thing for people to understand. And then she also, made threats. She made threats to my sister, to our family, when it was clear that my sister had reported her.
Okay. This is Sarah Ransom, who's been speaking out quite a lot about the case, about Ghislaine Maxwell. She has also claimed that she has seen, or was at least formerly in possession of, the tapes of Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, and others in compromising positions.
It makes me sick that she is claiming to be a victim or have any form of innocence. This is the same woman that grabbed my arm and forced me into a room to be raped by Jeffrey. It was brutal. And I remember limping from Jeffrey's bedroom to the bungalow where the survivors slept. And I remember looking at Ghislaine, and she had this evil smirk on her face. She knew by forcing me into Jeffrey's room that I was there to be raped, and she enjoyed it.
This is from 60 Minutes, so we can't play it, but it's worth reading. There's Virginia Giuffre in this interview with 60 Minutes. You can find this pretty easily online. Said, "I was instructed to get undressed and have sex with Jeffrey Epstein while Ghislaine Maxwell was participating as well. Both of them. I was abused by Ghislaine and Epstein." So this is in part a statement that was put out by Giuffre's family about this.
Horror and outrage that we object to the preferential treatment that convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell has received. The American public should be enraged by the preferential treatment being given to a pedophile and a criminally charged child sex offender. The Trump administration should not credit a word that Maxwell says, as the government itself sought charges against Maxwell for being a serial liar. This move smacks of a cover-up. The victims deserve better.
Well, the Epstein case really revolves around these horrific examples of grooming. But there are other types of grooming, like the kind of grooming that a political movement might do to its followers to get them to accept their pardoning eventually of a famous sex trafficker that they actually promised they were going to hold accountable, and whose accomplices they were going to hold accountable. So what we're seeing with Trump and a lot of Trump adjacent media is them grooming the MAGA movement to accept the eventual pardoning of Ghislaine Maxwell. So this is Ed Krasenstein. Trump now claims to know nothing about Ghislaine Maxwell's case before saying no one has asked him to pardon her. In other words, he knows everything about the case, and her lawyers have asked him to pardon her. It's coming. He will pardon her in exchange for her lying to protect him. I think that is the most reasonable explanation for why you would move this famous sex criminal that you promised, you ran on holding these people accountable, move them to Club Fed, away from what sounds like it wasn't even a particularly harsh prison that she was in. She was in a minimum security as it was. So here's a little of his interview with Newsmax.
Ghislaine Maxwell serving 20 years in prison for sex trafficking. Is clemency on the table for her in exchange for testimony?
I'm allowed to do it, but nobody's asked me to do it. I know nothing about it. I don't know anything about the case, but I know I have the right to do it. I have the right to give pardons. I've given pardons to people before, but nobody's even asked me to do it.
Come on. Why on earth would you talk this way about one of the most famous sex traffickers in history, a woman that he wished well when he was asked about her at the podium in 2020? And when Axios followed up in an interview with him, she lost her boyfriend. It's terrible. I wish a lot of people.
I think the betting odds are now like 18% that she's going to get pardoned. Not to be construed as advice in this way, but I think that's a good buy. I think that's a good buy because this is looking like he's going to fucking pardon this woman. That is fucking amazing. I mean, you talk about a final dick in the ass on the way out of office. January of 2029. Just like Biden pardoned Fauci. This is like, I'll see you, Fauci. I'll raise you, Maxwell.
Okay, so Krasenstein is pretty good at finding the groomer clips on this. Mark my words, Trump will pardon Ghislaine Maxwell and she'll say exactly what he wants her to. The setup, right-wing media is already seeding doubt about her guilt to give MAGA cover when it happens.
Unbelievable.
Only the fully brainwashed will fall for it. Okay, so this is grooming. This is a different type of grooming. Here is Greg Kelly grooming the faithful to accept the pardon of Ghislaine Maxwell and to accept this prison transfer.
Epstein pleaded guilty to the sex stuff in 2008, all right? He's a dirtbag monster. Does that mean Ghislaine Maxwell is? I don't think so, folks. That's not the way our society works. Not the way it's supposed to work.
Unbelievable.
At all. There is so much exculpatory evidence
it's a joke.
that nobody understands that it looks like the government kept from the defense, which is illegal, juror misconduct, you name it. And look at what happened in that court, right?
Watch.
Prosecutor pointing the finger. All right, just remember this image. For
Comey!
Right? Ghislaine Maxwell's on the left. It's COVID, right? So hardly anybody's there. And the attorney, the government attorney, doesn't have to wear a mask, pointing her finger right there at Maxwell.
Throws in a little COVID culture war there.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to wear a mask. It's Comey's daughter. Just say Comey and maybe we'll get like some kind of Pavlovian reaction out of the audience. Oh, yeah, it's Comey. It's Comey. They set Ghislaine Maxwell up. They set her up.
They made Ghislaine Maxwell wear a mask. Meanwhile, these cultural elites like Maureen Comey didn't wear a mask. After that, she took a private jet out to the West Coast to meet Gavin Newsom at the French Laundry without a mask, too. Meanwhile, Ghislaine Maxwell is a persecuted working woman.
She's been persecuted.
Has to wear a mask. Yeah.
She's been persecuted. She is everything that MAGA claims they hate. Her sister literally works at the World Economic Forum.
Oh,
she is this deep state daughter of an Israeli operative, of an Israeli spy. She is everything that the MAGA movement was supposed to be, electing Trump to fight against.
Wow.
And this is why they got to get scumbags like this to groom the audience. That's what they're doing. You're being groomed. You're being groomed like an Epstein victim to take the big dick when Donald Trump jams it in your ass with that pardon. But hey, man, to be fair, sex criminals got to stick together. Good Day New York anchor Greg Kelly, rape charges dropped. This was back in 2012. He was actually the son of Ray Kelly, the police commissioner in New York at the time. And somehow they decided that there wasn't enough evidence to charge the son of the police commissioner. Sex criminals, they got to stick together, man. If they don't defend each other, who will? Nick Sorter. So here's another example of the grift, the griftcast world grooming you, preparing you. So this is a little more clever than what Greg Kelly did. Greg Kelly just straight up was like, yeah, she's a victim of the deep state.
Yeah, she's innocent. Yeah.
He just went really dumb. What they're doing is, see, she's giving up names for special treatment. She's manipulating them, but what choice do they have? They got to get the names, right? Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell has been moved to a federal prison camp in Texas following her meetings with Deputy AG Blanche. Prison camps are much nicer than prisons. Something's happening here. Did she give up big names? You see, it's not that Trump is trying to get her not to give up big names. You see, he's on the side of the angels. He's just trying to get her to talk. Autism Capital responds. Ghislaine is milking this for every single thing she can. She was already infamous in prison for deliberately wasting their time and resources by writing letters and making requests 24/7 to clog the prison resources. And as a big FU, the guards hate her. You can guarantee she is ecstatic about using this nation's interest in this case and Trump's precarious situation to get the best possible conditions for herself and ultimately freedom if she can. This is a game she's trying to win. She's not a dope. And Nick Sorter, so far it seems to be working for her. The new prison camp is essentially club fed. Well, that is definitely a more elaborate grooming tactic to convince people, yeah, you should hate her because she's using all of her knowledge of Epstein's accomplices to get herself better conditions, but they're only giving her better conditions because they want to hold those people accountable. You know,
Right.
and by the time Trump pardons her, nobody's held accountable. You know, they made their money already. They don't care. They'll be on to the next grift by then. They'll be on to the next pile of bullshit. Maxwell attorney David Oscar Marcus told USA Today that Ghislaine was moved to Bryan, Texas, but we have no other comment as to why the transfer was made and who requested it. Both facilities are federal prisons. The Texas prison is slightly smaller and holds about 600 women. Low security prisons typically serve people sentenced to 10 years or less, making Maxwell an exception. Her release date is 2037. So this was a very interesting interview with a prison consultant explaining how bizarre this arrangement is, how virtually unprecedented it is.
And the length of her sentence, it made sense that her charges and the length of her sentence, it made sense that she was designated to Tallahassee. Where she is now at Bryan is a minimum security camp. There are no cells. There are no guard towers. The inmates, and I did speak to a client there today who said she hadn't seen Ms. Maxwell yet, but they have pods. So there's maybe 2 or 3 girls in a pod. Women are allowed outside from 6 in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. There is no controlled movement. There's much more in terms of activities to do. I understand there's even a yoga course that's taught there. So it is a diametrically different situation from where she came. I understand why they might have transferred her. There's probably, anybody that's cooperating for the government might have a target on their back, and it made sense to move her. Why she was moved to a camp, I don't know. And that is a very difficult move to accomplish under any circumstances.
Because they're going to pardon her.
Why is it difficult? What do you mean?
They're buttering her up.
Somebody like Ms. Maxwell, from my understanding, had at least 2 management variables associated with her case. So a management variable is a policy that the Bureau of Prisons has that said that if you have a sentence greater than 10 years, you can't go to a camp. If you have greater than 20 years, you might have to go to a medium level security. If you have a charge of violence or any sexual offense, you're not typically eligible for a minimum security camp. The fact that she had at least 2 of these variables waived, one that she had more than 10 years remaining on her sentence, and certainly the charge itself, is very, very atypical. I've had clients with 1 or both of those charges, and getting a management variable waived for anyone within the Bureau of Prisons is next to impossible. To have 2 management variables waived, highly unusual.
Fix is in, folks. In Florida, Maxwell taught yoga and etiquette classes and worked in the library. The move to the Texas prison likely offers her more free time and less structured supervision. The Texas facility holds a call center that employs inmates, and it partners with Canine Companions for Independence to allow inmates to train dogs and become personal assistance dogs to become. The prison offers classes such as horticulture and plumbing and cosmetology. The cosmetology course may include massage. Maxwell's convictions came from her recruitment of underage girls to give Epstein massages. He then sexually abused them. Well, I hope they're not going to let her take that course. Inmates live in dormitory-style housing with cubicles housing 4 to 8 beds. Visitors are allowed from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on weekends, according to the Bureau of Prisons website. Holmes, who is serving an 11-year sentence for fraud and conspiracy linked to the collapse of Theranos, earns 31 cents an hour helping soon-to-be-released women write resumes and apply for government benefits at the Texas prison camp, according to an article in People magazine. Holmes has been able to keep a mostly vegan diet in prison. Maxwell is also vegan. And PETA lobbied to ensure that she had vegan meals in prison. Well, it's good your donations are going to a good cause there if you donate to PETA. The prison sits on 37 acres between Austin and Houston. Holmes had described her time in prison as hell and torture, away from her 2 young children, according to an interview she gave to People magazine earlier this year. All right, so I kind of wanted to include that because it really illustrates how differently they treat these white-collar criminals from blue-collar criminals, street crime kind of criminals. You rob a bodega, you're going to be in hell, man. You're going to be fucking sharing a toilet with 10 guys and not being able to drop the soap in the shower for your whole fucking sentence. Look at these motherfuckers. Elizabeth Holmes robbed millions of fucking dollars from people, hundreds of millions of dollars. Look at the time she does. Look at the time she does. In fact, we have here an exclusive video. No one else has this. This video is from the prison camp, and we actually have Ghislaine Maxwell talking about her experience at the new facility.
In prison, dinner was always a big thing. We had a pasta course, and then we had a meat or a fish. Paulie did the prep work. He was doing a year for contempt, and he had this wonderful system for doing the garlic. He used a razor, and he used to slice it so thin that it used to liquefy in the pan with just a little oil. It's a very good system. You know, when you think of prison, you get pictures in your mind of all those old movies with rows and rows of guys behind bars. But it wasn't like that for Wise Guys. It really wasn't that bad, except that I missed Jimmy. He was doing his time in Atlanta.
Give me 2 steaks while you're in there, all right, John?
She meant Jeffrey. She meant Jeffrey.
Yeah, Jeffrey. I mean, everybody else in the joint was doing real time, all mixed together, living like pigs. But we lived alone. I mean, we owned the joint.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. They don't do the same kind of time you do, man. They don't do that kind of time. They do special rich person time. All right. You rob millions of people of their life savings, man. You go to Club Fed. You rob the cash register at the corner store because you can't feed your family. You're going away for 5 years of hell. You're going to go away to hell. This is from Hustle Bitch. They just upgraded Ghislaine Maxwell. She's now in a cushy minimum security prison with no cameras, no recordings, zero oversight. The woman who trafficked children for the elite just vanished behind a wall of silence. What names are they still protecting at all costs? Exactly. There's another thing from the family of Virginia Giuffre. President Trump has sent a clear message today. Fans of the playground deserve preferential treatment, and their victims do not matter. And let's not forget, Melania met Trump through Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. She knew, meaning Melania. Yeah, at this point, I'm sorry, man. If you are still supporting Donald Trump, you can never again claim the moral high ground on anything. I don't ever want to hear you talking again about the perverted elite, about Democrat perverts and sex criminals, about the Clintons, about pizza shops. I don't want to hear fucking shit out of you. If you are still supporting, and hey, man, to be fair, we have seen a lot of MAGA people walk away from Trump in disgust over this, but you're also seeing a lot who won't.
Right.
And if you won't, I don't ever want to hear shit about global fans of the playground elites secretly running things behind the scenes, because you literally are propping up the global elite that you claim to be fighting. You are literally propping up the perverts that you said you were so concerned about. Trump is literally everything that you said you were against.
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me, as it does to just about everybody now. Polymarket, 99% chance he's in the files. DOJ says he's in the files.
He said he's in the
guilty.
files.
He said he's in the files, right, and that they're fake files. Yeah, no, it's as obvious as it could possibly be. It's completely pathetic at this point. You just see who has no bottom, who has no moral bottom.
Right.
You know, that guy, that anchor there talking about how, you know, Maxwell was railroaded and got a raw deal. I mean, it's just so pathetic. But, you know, look, I think smart money now is that he's going to pardon her. I mean, this was a gesture in that direction, a pretty unmistakable one and a pretty big one to move her to a minimum security prison. She's cooperating. She's giving them what they want, and in exchange, they're giving her what she wants. It's very, very obvious. It's happening in broad daylight.
And some have speculated the release of that book was a warning.
Mm-hmm.
And it very well might have been, because right after that, it never occurred to them to talk to her? Right after that, they rushed right into talking to her and moved her to a minimum security prison.
Yeah, a warning and an offer, right? It's the same thing, right?
Yep.
That seems likely. That seems likely. You know, what is near certain at this point is that she gave her terms. They agreed to them. I would be shocked if she is not pardoned on the way out the door. This move is a major step in that direction, obviously.
So somebody made the point, guys, 83 and obese. What does he give a fuck? I mean, when hit by the time he gets out of office.
Yeah, no,
he'll be 83.
Yeah, he won't care. No, he doesn't care about J.D. Vance. He doesn't care about anything. He cares about saving his own fat face.
By the time
That's
he
all
does those
about.
pardons, the election will be over anyway.
It's over anyway. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. And at that point, I mean, I don't know who's going to be left to vote for these fucking people, but we'll see. We'll see what tricks they have up their sleeve.
Please clap.